ocean is absolutely massive, but I don't think people realize how big the ocean actually is. So in today's video, we are going to be diving into the Pacific Ocean and seeing how big it actually is. Because if you didn't know, the Pacific Ocean is obviously the biggest ocean of them all. I think some of these facts are going to absolutely blow your mind, but without further ado, let's get straight into it. Let's go!
Come as no surprise to you that most of the Earth's surface is covered by water. This is a simple fact that we've all learned about since our earliest memories in school.
Indeed.
But you probably will still be surprised by the absolute sheer scale of the biggest part of our ocean.
I feel like I will be. I'm excited for this.
To say that the Pacific Ocean is huge would be an equally huge understatement. The Pacific Ocean is colossal. So let's begin by talking about this.
Hang about. Whoa. I didn't know the Pacific Ocean was that big. I thought it cut off here. I didn't know it also went down to... Wow, okay, fair enough.
Imagine that you're on a boat at approximately these coordinates.
Nice.
You're in the Pacific
Near
Ocean,
Chile.
just slightly off the coast of Chile and Peru in South America. Then, imagine you got in a submarine, submerged all the way to the bottom of the ocean, and then drilled all the way through the Earth out to the other side of the world and came up on the other side. After doing all of that, you would still find yourself inside of the Pacific Ocean.
What?
Specifically, the Gulf of Tonkin, just off the coast of Vietnam and China. The Pacific Ocean is so massive that it contains several of its own antipodes, or spots on the opposite side of the world that remain in the same ocean. But we're just getting started here.
Hang on, that's blown my mind. That's actually crazy. You can drill a hole from Chile to China and still be in the Pacific Ocean.
Side of the world that remain in the same
That's crazy.
Ocean. But we're just getting started here. There are parts of the Pacific Ocean that stretch across more than half of the planet's surface, but the longest continuous stretch of water spans between the islands of Indonesia and the coast of Colombia. This stretch is nearly 19,800 kilometers long. This is
like bigger than Russia.
A huge distance. You could fit the entire diameter of the moon between it. Actually, you could fit 5 moons in this distance.
You could fit 5 moons in the Pacific Ocean. What? That's just horizontally as well. You could fit 5 moons? Nah, that's crazy. That is crazy.
Zooming out to this view of the Pacific from above on Google Maps can show you this image.
That's at half the world.
That it takes up almost half of the planet.
Yeah,
However,
what the hell?
This image is deceiving because in reality, you can never really see half of the planet at the same time.
Good point.
Since the Earth is shaped like a sphere,
but still, that's crazy.
The planet begins curving out from your field of view that's called the horizon. And no matter how far away you get from Earth, you're always going to be dealing with a horizon that blocks viewing a full half of the planet.
But still, that looks insane.
The Pacific Ocean takes up approximately 1/3 of the planet's surface, which is still a highly significant amount.
That's insane!
Enough to produce a map like this one. Here, you can see 2 separate ways to divide the world's surface between 2 equal hemispheres. Most of us are probably more familiar with the Eastern and Western hemispheric view of the world. But this view isn't really based on anything.
I've got a little fact here. You know how the UK is in the middle, right here? Basically, we're in the middle of every single map in the world because we were so powerful at the time. We conquered so many countries that we were like, yeah, we want to be in the middle of the world on the map, so put us there.
Other than the British, who decided that they were the center of the world back in the 19th century.
What? No, what? I swear to God I haven't watched this video. Wait. I swear to God I have not watched this video before. Wait, listen, he said the same thing as me.
Other than the British, who decided that they were the center of the world back in the 19th century. In this new division, the world is divided between the water hemisphere and the land hemisphere. The 2 sides of the world that contain the most water and the most land. The Pacific takes up most of the water hemisphere. In total, this entire half of the planet is 89% water, 5% polar ice cap, and only 6% dry land. If you were stranded in the oceans on this side of the world, it might indeed be a while until you ever discover land.
That's a death sentence.
With all of that being said, in purely numerical form, the Pacific Ocean is 165.25 million square kilometers in surface area.
That's bigger than like all the land ever.
That's a challenging number to visualize.
Surely.
So think about it this way. The surface area of every single continent of land in the world combined from North America, South America, Europe, Africa, Asia, Australia, Antarctica, and even throwing in Greenland just for good measure, is only 148 million square kilometers.
What? Why is the Pacific Ocean that big?
This means that you could fit every single continent in the world together inside of just the Pacific.
That is insane.
And still have millions of square kilometers left open.
Yeah,
Let's
that
think
is
about this another way.
insane.
Imagine the planet Mars. Measure out every single square kilometer across the entire Martian surface, every valley and canyon and crater. Now, let's pour the Pacific Ocean over Mars. Eventually, you'll completely submerge all of Mars's 145 million square kilometers of surface area. In fact, the Pacific Ocean is a whopping 20 million square kilometers larger than the surface area of Mars.
We are actually the big dogs. We've just got a 165 million kilometer ocean just slapped in our Earth. How cool is that?
We've only started talking about the surface area of the Pacific, not yet its depth. Indeed, the Pacific isn't just huge across, it's also huge below.
Absolutely.
It's the deepest of any of Earth's oceans. The Challenger Deep in the Marianas Trench is the deepest point in the world that we're aware of so far, plunging nearly 11 kilometers beneath the wave.
Have you ever run a 5K? Double it and add another kilometer. That's how low it goes. That is absolutely insane. That's crazy to visualize. It takes me 19 minutes and 47 seconds to run a 5K. Double that and then add another kilometer. That is insane how deep that is.
And other trenches have points that reach very similar depths. The Tonga Trench, Philippine Trench, and the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench all have spots over 10.3 kilometers deep. And the mean depth across the entire Pacific is over 4,000 meters. The average depth in the Pacific is over 2,600 times deeper than the deep end of an average American swimming pool. With all that size and all that depth, the Pacific alone contains 710 million cubic kilometers worth of water.
Could you imagine if that water wasn't salty? Everyone could just drink from the Pacific Ocean. Why does ocean water have to be salty? We got nerfed.
Roughly 50% of all the world's oceanic water.
Damn.
All of this puts into perspective how ridiculously bold the ancient Polynesian explorers really were. They sailed out into an unknown and uncharted ocean bigger than all of the world's continents combined.
But I guess it wouldn't have known
than
that.
An entire planet, just in the hopes of discovering some new
Yeah,
islands.
true, but I guess I wouldn't have known how big it was.
The Pacific is home to over 25,000 distinct islands spread out across almost incomprehensible distances. But already by the year 1200, the Polynesians had reached virtually all of them from their original starting point back in Taiwan. Some of these islands continue to be absurdly remote and difficult to get to even today, let alone 1,000 years ago.
Yeah, that is crazy.
The Pacific Ocean is so vast and so empty that it contains many of the most remote and difficult to get to places in the world. Take Honolulu in Hawaii, for example.
Beautiful place.
This is the most remote city with a population over 100,000 people anywhere in the world, because the nearest other city of comparable or greater size is San Francisco, over 3,800 kilometers.
It's just slapped in the Pacific Ocean. That is insane to me. How do these people find these things? Imagine if they were like a few degrees off course. They would have missed Honolulu. They would have missed so many of these islands, and they've just been floating around in the Pacific Ocean for ages.
Way about the same distance as New York City is away from Los Angeles.
No
The
way.
Polynesians still found it over 700 years ago. Easter Island is arguably the most remote inhabited island in the world.
Well, hang on. Is Easter Island the one with the heads slapped in the ground? Is that Easter Island?
It's over 2,000 kilometers away from the nearest other piece of land, and that piece of land happens to be Pitcairn Island, which itself is an absurdly remote, hard-to-get-to island in the middle of nowhere. Besides Pitcairn, Easter Island is over 2,600 kilometers away from the nearest town with over 500 people on the island of Mangareva.
That
it's
is
over 3,500 kilometers away from the nearest other continent, South America. It's also home to the world's most remote
True. What continent are these islands on? I guess South America. I don't know.
The nearest other airport is over in the Gambier Islands, 2,600 kilometers away. And the nearest major airport is in Santiago, over 3,700 kilometers away.
That is just
Comparatively, not even the airport at the South Pole is as remote as the one on Easter Island, since the nearest other airport to there is just over 1,300 kilometers away. Still, the Polynesians may have discovered it over 1,200 years ago in canoe.
Well, and that's about it. Subscribe, like the video as well. Thanks. Bye.